On this video, we're learning the basics of cinematography, and that starts right now. Hey guys, we're back. Ryan here with Camp Films. I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina, and today we are talking about cinematography basics. Cinematography is one of the most important aspects of the filmmaking process. Cinematography is one of the things that I try to work on the most every time I make a new film. I try to improve, learn new things, learn new techniques. And while I'm still learning and improving on my cinematography all the time, I thought today we would take a look at the basics of cinematography. So first off, what is cinematography? Cinematography basically is the art of visual storytelling. Its main pillars are camera work, lighting, composition, movement, color, and like I said, it's a fundamental aspect of filmmaking and video production. So let's take a look at every core aspect of cinematography, starting with camera work. The camera, of course, is going to be your primary tool in cinematography, and whether you're using a DSLR, your mobile phone, or a cinema camera, understanding your device and your tool is very crucial to your success as a cinematographer. One of the most important things you can learn about controlling your camera is how to manipulate the holy trinity of exposure. And that's going to be your aperture, shutter speed, and ISO settings. Understanding the ins and outs of the camera that you're shooting with is one of the most basic steps that we can take to improve our cinematography. Study the documentation for your camera to learn how to best set it up for filmmaking. Watch YouTube videos dedicated to setting up your camera to get the best out of your camera when shooting films and video. One thing I do to improve consistency and ease of use is to set up custom templates on my camera for when I'm shooting films and video. That way, once you find something that works and looks the best, you can easily switch to it at any time by bringing up your presets. But this is just the start as far as camera work is concerned. Learning about the different lenses we can use is also an important step. Different lenses are better for different types of shots. Learning basic camera shots and camera angles is also an important step we can take. And as I mentioned before, learning the holy trinity of exposure is an important step you can take to improving each shot. Learn your camera and learn how to manipulate the ISO, aperture, and shutter speeds. If you would like to learn more about the holy trinity of exposure, I have a dedicated video for each aspect here on the channel. I'll put a link to those in the description below. Next, let's talk about composition. Composition is basically how you arrange things in the frame. The rule of thirds, leading lines, and framing within the frame. Learning these techniques, what they mean and how to use them, is going to lead your viewer's eye to the subject you want them to be looking at within the frame. Let's take a look at some examples of good and bad composition. Camera composition is crucial in visual storytelling as it affects how the audience perceives and interprets the scene. Here are some examples of good and bad camera compositions. Let's start with the good first. The rule of thirds. Placing the subject off-center at one of the intersections of the dividing lines in a 3x3 grid. This creates a more aesthetically pleasing and balanced image. Leading lines. Using natural lines in the scene like roads, fences, or architectural elements to lead the viewer's eye towards the main subject. Depth. Creating a sense of depth by having objects in the foreground, midground, and background. This is usually called creating depth of field, where you have an in-focused character in the foreground and an out-of-focus background, creating a sense of three-dimensional space. Symmetry and patterns. Using symmetry or repeating patterns for visually striking composition. Frame within a frame. Using elements within the scene to create a natural frame around the subject, such as a character being viewed through a doorway, focusing the viewer's attention. Now let's take a look at some examples of bad camera composition. Poor framing. Subjects are awkwardly cut off, or important elements are partially out of the frame. Lack of headroom or lead room. Too little or too much space above the subject's head, or not enough space in the direction a subject is looking or moving to. Flat compositions. Composition that lacks depth with everything in focus and no clear distinction between foreground and background. A distracting background. Elements in the background distract from the main subject, like a busy or cluttered background that takes attention away from the subject. And an unbalanced composition. The image feels visually unbalanced with too much weight on one side of the frame. Understanding and applying good composition techniques can significantly enhance the visual impact of your scenes, while poor composition can distract or confuse the viewer, detracting from your storytelling. Up next is a big one, and that is lighting. Lighting is everything. It's going to shape the mood, the atmosphere, and the realism of your scene. Since we're going over the basics, the 3-point lighting setup is a great place to start. Let's take a look at what it is and how we can use it in our films. A great place to start when you're first learning about lighting is the 3-point lighting setup. This technique uses 3 lights to fully illuminate a subject in a 3-dimensional space, and is known for its versatility and ability to create a professional look. Here's a brief explanation of each component and how to set it up. First, we'll start with the key light. This is the main light in this setup, and it's usually the strongest and has the most influence on the look of the scene. It's used to highlight the form and dimensions of the subject. Place the key light to one side of the camera, about 45 degrees from it, and a bit higher than eye level. The angle can be adjusted to control the shadows and highlights, thereby creating different moods and styles, according to what kind of look you're going for. Next, we have the fill light. The fill light balances the key light by illuminating the shadows created by the key light. It's softer and less intense than the key light. Position the fill light on the opposite side of the key light at about the same angle. The fill should be less intense, so either move it further away from the subject or use a dimmer light. The goal is to soften the shadows without eliminating them completely. You can sometimes even get away with using a bounce instead of an actual light to fill in the subject on this side. And last, we have the backlight, also known as a rim light or a hair light. This light is placed behind the subject, and it helps to separate the subject from the background, adding depth and dimension to the shot. Place the backlight behind the subject opposite the camera. It should be higher than the subject, pointing downward. This creates a slight rim of light around the edges of the subject, helping them stand out from the background. Be sure to experiment with the positioning and intensity of each light to achieve the desired effect. Use diffusers or bounce the light off surfaces to create softer shadows and reduce harshness. The 3-point lighting setup is adaptable. You can modify it based on the specific requirements of your shoot, such as the subject's features, the camera angle, and the mood you want to convey. Let's talk about using movement in our cinematography. How your camera moves is almost as important as what you're capturing. A pan, tilt, or dolly shot can reveal details, create tension, and evoke emotions. But remember, movement should always serve the story. Let's take a look at some different kinds of camera movement we can use in our cinematography. In cinematography, camera movement is a powerful tool to tell your story, convey emotions, and guide the audience's attention. Here are some of the most common types of camera movement to help get you started. First, we have the pan shot. In a pan shot, the camera is stationary but rotates on its axis horizontally. It moves from left to right or right to left. Panning is often used to follow a moving subject or to reveal the environment horizontally. Up next, we have the tilt. Similar to panning, but the camera moves vertically up or down while remaining fixed in its position. Tilting is used to reveal elements vertically, such as tall buildings or a character looking up or down. Next, we have the dolly or tracking shot. In a dolly shot, the camera physically moves towards or away from the subject, or it moves alongside the subject. This movement can create a sense of depth and is often used for following a character or moving through a physical space. Up next, we have the zoom shot. Unlike dolly shots, zooming doesn't involve moving the camera. Instead, the lens focal length is changed to make the subject appear closer or further away. Zooms can be used for dramatic effect, to focus on a specific detail, or to transition between scenes. Next, we have the crane or the jib shot. This is when the camera is mounted on a crane or jib and moves vertically and sometimes horizontally. This is used to achieve high-angle shots or to move up and down over top of objects, providing a bird's eye view or a sweeping shot of the environment. And we have the handheld shot. This is when the camera is held in the camera operator's hands. Handheld shots often result in shaky footage and has more of a documentary style feel, which is used to create a sense of realism or urgency. And that's not all. We still have Steadicam shots, drone shots, and there's even more. But this should be enough to help get you started with your cinematography journey. Each of these movements can be used in various creative ways to enhance your storytelling, creating mood and engaging your audience. The choice of movement often depends on the narrative needs, the style of the film, and the director's overall vision. Let's talk about the power of color in our cinematography. Color can tell the viewer how to feel without a single word. Color grading can enhance your narrative, but it all starts with good white balance and exposure. Let's go over some color grading basics to get us off to a good start. Before we talk about color, we need to understand white balance. White balance is a fundamental concept in photography and videography that affects the color accuracy of your images. It's about adjusting colors so that they appear more natural, compensating for the color temperature or different light sources. Here's a breakdown of the basics. Color temperature is measured in Kelvin. It refers to the warmth or coolness of a light source. Lower temperatures around 1000 to 3000 are warmer, yellowish or orange, like candlelight. Higher temperatures above 5000 K are cool, blue, like a cloudy sky. Different light sources like sunlight, fluorescent lights, tungsten bulbs, and LED lights all have different color temperatures that you need to account for. The reason it's important is that without correct white balance, photos can have an unrealistic color cast, too blue or too orange, making them look unnatural. Ensuring color consistency across different shots is especially important in professional settings like product photography or filmmaking. When you go to set your white balance, most cameras have an auto white balance setting where the camera automatically adjusts the white balance. Good for general use, but may not always be completely accurate. You can also try to use presets with your white balance. Most cameras typically offer presets for different lighting conditions like cloudy days, daylight, indoor lighting, fluorescent lighting, etc. These presets are based on average color temperatures for those light sources. You can also set your custom white balance. For precise control, you can set the white balance manually. This is done by photographing a white or neutral gray card under the lighting you'll be using and setting the image as the reference for your white balance. And some cameras also have a Kelvin mode. Some advanced cameras allow you to set the color temperature directly in Kelvin, giving you full control over your white balance. Be sure to test and adjust, and always test your white balance settings and adjust as needed, especially in mixed lighting conditions. You can also shoot in RAW. If you're unsure, shooting in RAW allows you to adjust white balance during post-processing without quality loss. For critical work, you can use a gray card to set a custom white balance for accurate color reproduction. Be aware of changing light conditions, especially when shooting outdoors. Understanding and correctly setting white balance is crucial for producing images that accurately reflect the scene's colors, enhancing the overall quality and professionalism of your work. Now that we know the importance of white balance and how to set it up on our cameras, now it's time to delve into color. Color in cinematography is a powerful storytelling tool, influencing mood, atmosphere, and even the audience's emotional response. Understanding the basics of color involves several key aspects. First, let's talk about color theory: hue, saturation, and brightness. Hue refers to the color itself, red, blue, green, etc. Saturation is the intensity or purity of the color. And brightness, or the value, refers to how light or dark the color is. Complementary colors, opposites each other on the color wheel, create contrast and vibrancy. Colors that are next to each other on the color wheel offer harmony, and are pleasing to the eye. Different colors evoke different emotions. For example, blue can feel calm and serene, while red can signify passion or danger. Let's talk about color temperature. As mentioned earlier, color temperature in film affects the mood and atmosphere. Warmer tones, a lower Kelvin, often convey warmth and comfort, while cooler tones, higher Kelvin, can feel sterile or distant. Now let's talk about color grading and correction. Color correction is adjusting colors to ensure they are realistic and consistent across all of your shots. This step is essential for maintaining continuity. Color grading, on the other hand, is the creative process of altering and enhancing the color of a motion picture. It's used to create a visual tone and mood. Here are a few color schemes that we can use in our cinematography. Monochromatic, which uses variations in lightness and saturation of a single color. This can create a very focused and cohesive look. Complementary, which utilizes colors opposite of each other on the color wheel. It's great for creating contrast and highlighting elements. And analogous, which involves colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. This scheme is often found in nature and is harmonious and pleasing to the eye. Here are some ways that we can use color to help tell our story. It can be used in character development. Colors can reflect a character's journey or changes in mood and personality. It can create symbolism. Certain colors can symbolize different themes or ideas, like green for envy or growth. And colors can help set the scene. Color palettes can help establish the setting and the time period in your film. Here are some practical applications for using color in your films and cinematography. Lighting. Gels and filters can be used on lights to add color to a scene. They can be used in your production design. Wardrobe, set design, and props are chosen for their color to contribute to the overall palette of your scenes. And color can be used in post-production. Digital tools allow for precise control over the colors in the final product. Maintaining a consistent color palette throughout the film helps in creating a cohesive visual style. This consistency is key in making the film visually compelling and narratively coherent. To summarize, color in cinematography is not just about making the film look good, it's an essential element of visual storytelling. It requires a thoughtful approach, from pre-production planning to post-production finishing, to effectively convey the story's emotional and thematic undertones. Now that we know the basics of cinematography, it's time to put all of these things into action and practice our craft. 3 simple ways that you can practice your cinematography are with still life, portraits, and action scenes. Photography is a great place to start. Try different compositions, lighting setups, and movement. One of the most useful ways I've found in improving my cinematography and getting some good practice is to watch some of my favorite films and try to recreate scenes from those films. You'll be surprised at what a little trial and error can help you accomplish. Cinematography is a journey that we are all on as filmmakers, and we've all just taken the first step. Remember that every great cinematographer started with the basics that you learned here today. So grab your camera, start shooting, and most importantly, have fun. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We have some new merch in the store, so if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check that out with the link below. My Filmmaker's Field Guide just hit the online store. It's an incredible resource of cheat sheets and forms for filmmakers. Please be sure to check it out and help support the channel. I hope you found this video very beneficial. My name is Ryan, this is Camp Films, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.